here. Hello, everybody. This week, I actually learned something new. I learned that hummingbirds migrate for the winter. Now, I don't know where else they're supposed to go. Like, of course they migrate. But I had a client in a meeting earlier today bring that up, and I just thought that was really interesting to think of those tiny little birds with those tiny little wings going south for the winter. So that is what I learned, but I'm going to talk to you about what we're going to learn this week. Once again, hello, everybody, and welcome to the fourth episode of What Did We Learn This Week? This is a show where I share technology tips, tricks, and short lessons that I've provided to my customers over the last week with you. I'm Jonathan, and I work at Minnesota State Services for the Blind as a technology trainer. My clients range from low vision to totally blind, and I help them stay independent through the use of technology like computers, tablets, and smartphones. Today is October 16th, 2020, and for this episode, we're covering three topics. First, I'm going to talk about iOS 14. That's the newest version of the iPhone and iPad software. We'll talk about what's new and whether or not it's a good time to update, especially if you are a VoiceOver user. And we all know how updates can hit us VoiceOver users. Next, we're going to do an App Corner segment where we're going to be talking about a rather cool app called WayAround, which is a tagging and scanning app for iOS and Android, and it's made for identifying objects around the home. Now, you might think, Jonathan, didn't we just recently cover Seeing AI? That lets us see objects around the home. This one's a bit different. It uses NFC, and we will get into that in detail. Finally, I'm going to share with you how I perform remote access for my clients on Mac and Windows computers, specifically the two free methods for doing so. There are some specialty programs out there, and even JAWS, which has a tandem feature, but we're going to be talking about some features that are built into the Mac and the Windows computer. If you ever want to get help from somebody else and they want to have them connect to you, these are the tools you're going to use because they're already built into your computers. Okay. So also, remember that questions can be asked ahead of time, or if you've got suggestions for topics or things you'd like us to discuss on the show, let us know by calling or texting our special What Did We Learn This Week question line at 320-428-0122. I'm going to repeat that again. That's 320-428-0122. When you call that number, you're just going to get an answer machine. Just leave your question or topic suggestion. Or remember, you can also send a text message as well. I don't have some fancy automated system that confirms you're just going to be texting. You're not going to get a response. It's not because I'm not listening or because I'm rude. It's an unmanned system. I get an email when someone calls or texts it. So we did hear you, even if you don't hear a response. And remember, I don't have time for every question or topic that's submitted, but I'm going to do the best I can. So that number one more time is 320-428-0122. And one last thing before we get going, if you are not a member of our mailing list and you'd like to receive email notifications for episodes as they are announced, and also as we start posting archives, we'll be sending out through that email also. You just want to visit blind.support/signup. And then just enter the email address you want to receive notifications for. That address again is blind.support/signup. That's all lowercase. That's just one more time, blind.support/signup. And feel free to share that with anybody else that you think might be interested, and we will add them to the list and send them notifications as well. Okay, so with that, we're gonna start up the episode. So our first topic is iOS 14 for the iPad and for the iPhone. So we call that iOS 14 means for the phone, iPad OS 14 means for the iPad. They do throw in that distinction between the two, but they are kind of the same update. We're going to be focusing today on the iPhone update, although the iPad update is pretty much the same with a couple of small differences. Now, I'm mostly going to be talking about this update. For the demo portion, we're going to be focusing just on some specific accessibility differences. Now, you might be wondering, what is iOS 14 and why am I making such a big deal out of it? And the reason why is that every year around fall, around this time of year, Apple releases a major update to their operating system. They usually reserve these big updates to about once a year. And the reason why they do that is they tend to add new features, change the way certain apps work. And also, it's not a bad way to coincide with the release of their new phone. In fact, the iPhone 12 became available for pre-order this morning at 7 a.m. Central Time. And they always want to have a new version of the operating system so those phones look fresh and new, both inside and out. The reason why they don't do these types of updates all the time is because they're changing more things than they usually do. And when we change things, that can be a bit tough of a transition, especially if we're not used to all these new features. We don't want to wake up one day and just have things disappear or new apps appear out of seemingly nowhere. So this update came out a few weeks ago, and it's been pushed out slowly to all of its users. You may have, or you may not have received a notification, from Apple or an email, if you're in their email list, notifying you of iOS 14 becoming available to install. And with a big update like this, we usually have a choice to update or not. It's not quite as automatic as some of the throughout the year security and bug fixes. That's because this is different. And there are some people who don't want to update to iOS 14 right away. And there's some people who may not want to update at all. These might be people who work for a business and they use a special app that for one reason or another doesn't work in iOS 14. Or maybe we want to delay doing the update because there's some bug that I know exists that could very negatively impact me. In fact, that's maybe the number one reason why voiceover users tend to wait a little bit longer for these updates, or at least they probably should wait a little bit longer. I'm going to detail later in the section what are those bugs so you can decide whether or not you want to update. Now, if you're really excited and you are a cutting edge person, you want to jump in right away, you want that update right now, you haven't been notified about it, you can manually update to iOS 14 by going into the Settings app on your phone, navigate to the General section. And in general, the second option from the top is Software Update. At that point, your phone will check immediately for that update and give you the choice to download it and install it immediately. Now, don't go ahead and jump and do that yet. We're going to talk about what's new and why you may want to wait for that update in just a moment. Also, the iOS updates, as they come out, they don't support every single phone that has been manufactured. So this particular update will work on any phone that is an iPhone SE or 6S or newer. So if you have an iPhone 6 or younger, 5S, 5, going backwards, iOS 14 is not going to be available for your phone. There's a couple of reasons why. There's some technology differences. There's some performance issues they're worried about. And so that's why they make it not available to phones that are much older than maybe 6 or 7 years in many, at most points. They usually the last 5 years of phones, no problem with the updates. And sometimes they go a bit farther. So You've got an iPhone SE, 6S, or newer. You're curious, will this update be good for you? What are the big new features? Well, first, let's talk about the general features that are new, not the ones that are specific to low vision or voiceover. So, one of the big new features is something called widgets. Widgets are ways of creating kind of mini versions of your apps and have them appear on the home screen as you navigate around. So, for instance, you could have a little widget that on the home screen, as you open it up or look at it, or as you flick right with VoiceOver to move through it, you can get the top news article of the day or the current weather forecast. These are all things you could open up apps, and in many ways you could activate Siri to get to them. But now you can create little shortcuts to them right on the homepage called widgets. And then apps can even create their own widgets that can appear. To get to widgets, we go into the edit mode on the homepage. We're not going to do a whole tutorial on widgets today. And I will say, as far as accessibility goes, widgets offer a new opportunity for navigating, but also a new challenge for app developers because as I've played with it, some of the widgets that have come out for third-party groups haven't read the best with VoiceOver when I navigate through them. Also, they tend to be a bit smaller, so large print is not as standoutish there. So it's not my favorite feature for low vision and blindness, but it is a pretty nifty feature for people who are able to take advantage of some of those visuals. I've also added a new feature called the app library. So the app library is like a page in the home screen. So as the home screen, you can flick from right to left or do a three-finger flick from right to left on VoiceOver to change what page you're on. There's a new page at the end. They've added a new page called the app library. The app library is basically a place where you can search for your apps. It groups them up into categories, and it's designed for people who install so many apps, they don't want to have lots and lots of home screens. And you can actually hide an app, acting like you delete it from the home screen, and it appears in the app library. You could still open it with Siri, but it doesn't show up on your home screen, and it only shows up in this app library. So a feature for people like me, who are using lots and lots of apps. I'm hitting something here. I'm activating Siri on my computer. I don't think you can hear it, but it's pretty hilarious. So I might be clicking every once in a while over here, and that's the stop Siri. I think it's something I'm leaning on. I don't know. We're not going to worry about it right now. So there's also been updates to the user interface, the way certain things look. And you'll notice that opening up a variety of apps. So you'll notice some new design elements. For VoiceOver users, that might mean that things as you flick to the right might be in a slightly different order. I've noticed most of those changes have been intelligent, good changes here, but just don't want to get caught by surprise. So there might be some new orders to things as you look on the screen and navigate. They've also got something called the compact UI now. And what that means, well, compact user interface. And what that means is when a phone call comes through, it used to fill the entire screen with a big call. And if you were looking at something on the phone, it would cover it up entirely. So it would block what you were doing. People found that to be obnoxious, visually speaking. And so now the calls show up as a notification that pulls down from the top with an answer or end. Now, if you're not on a phone call and a phone call comes through, everything behaves the same. If you're on VoiceOver, you answer the phone the exact same way you used to, or you can flick to the right to hear the answer button, or do a two-finger double tap. So our user experience is not very different, but the visuals are. This is also true for Siri. Siri used to, when we activated, the whole screen would turn dark and we would be in the Siri screen. Now we activate Siri, the home screen stays there and everything just appears sort of on top of things. The way we navigate that with VoiceOver hasn't really changed, but the visuals will look a bit different. And it's a little bit less obstructive for people who are using the visuals. Messages has been updated with a feature I kind of like here is when you open up messages on the old version, you used to flick to the right and you would have a list of your most recent text messages or conversations with people. You would double tap to open that up, and then you could review the last couple of discussions you had had with somebody. But if you hadn't talked to someone in a while, they would get buried lower and lower and lower on that list. Well, now you can pin somebody, which means their name will stay at the top of your messages list. You can activate this by, with one finger sliding to the side, there's a pin button, or if you're in VoiceOver, just flick up when you're on that particular conversation and a pinned option shows up. So that moves them to the top of the list all the time. I actually really like that because I've managed to keep my friends and family at the top of that list always. The Maps app has gotten some interesting updates. It's added a new guides feature. It's sort of like a travel guide and cycling directions, but that's just for select cities. So right now, New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, those types of places have it. We'll get Minneapolis, which is where I'm close to, probably in the next couple months or so. But they're going to be adding cycling directions, keep you from, if you're riding a bicycle, from driving, biking on the highway, things like that. And also tell information about local attractions. I think the guides are probably more useful if we're traveling to a place we haven't been before. And hopefully COVID will start to clear up, and that'll become something that's a lot easier to do in the near future. There's a new app that comes along with iOS 14 called the Translate app. And it is exactly what it is described as. What it does is it allows you to translate from one language to another. You can do so by dictating, you can do so by typing. And it also has a mode called conversation mode, which allows you to speak into the phone, translate from your language to the person you're talking to's language, then it's their turn to talk, and it goes back and forth. This can also be done completely on device, which means you don't need an internet connection if you're traveling. So another cool traveling feature for when we eventually get back to international travel, or if you're engaging with somebody new and you need to have something translated. So that's the translation app. It'll just appear on your home screen after you've done the software update. You don't have to download it from the App Store, and you can delete it if it's not something that you care about also. We mentioned that Siri's user interface has been updated, but Siri itself has been updated with a new feature called Web Answers. And Web Answers is supposed to, those times when you ask Siri a question, it says, here's what I found on the web, check it out. And you have to use VoiceOver to try to navigate to it, or visually you have to tap and read a whole web page. This is try to cut down on the number of times that happens. It can pull more information from the web and read it directly to you. It's not a magic bullet. You might be thinking, that sounds great. That's what I want. Siri doesn't answer enough questions. I want it more. This is definitely, it's answering 20 times more types of questions than it used to when it first came out. This makes it a little bit better, but you're still going to find those web, check this out on the web showing up from time to time. So definitely an improvement. But not going to change things too much. On that note, I'm just going to jump in here. And if you have been trying to use, because I mentioned today is October 16th, if you've been trying to get sports scores from Siri for the last couple of days, you might have noticed that rather than her giving you the sports scores, the schedules, or the stats, she's been saying, here's what I found on the web instead. And you might be brought to the belief that, oh, I guess Siri doesn't get sports scores, but that's actually not true. What's happened is there was an issue with one of the databases that Siri pulls that information from, and she's been having trouble the last couple of days. Now, I tested it this morning, and it seems to be working fine now. So just so you know, we didn't lose the ability to get sports scores. There just was some sort of bug or server issue that's been cleared up. You can go back to finding out when the next game of your favorite sport is and what the stats are and the schedules and everything. Just ask Siri. But an actual new feature, an actual news feature that has come to Siri is the ability to ask Siri to send a audio message. So an audio message is a recording of yourself that's sent as a text message. So if you've been having problems with the dictation quality of Siri, not getting your words right, messing up certain people's names, just not being as accurate as you'd like it to be. Outside of their improving that incrementally, you can now ask Siri to send a voice a voice message. Just say, send voice message to Jonathan Campbell. She'll start recording the message, and I'll just say what I want to say. And instead of sending a text version that's been converted, she'll literally just send a audio file that they can tap on their phone, and it will play it back. One thing that's important to know about that feature is that those audio messages don't stay on the phone. They actually expire after a period of time unless the user interacts with them in a special way. So that means if you send an audio message to someone, they'll hear it. And after they listen to it, after a couple minutes, it'll actually delete itself. And that's because audio messages would take up a lot of space, and we don't want to fill up your phone with audio messages. So just so you know, they're not as permanent as a text message. So just keep that in mind if you're texting something that you would like them to be able to check back in over and over and over again, like an address or a phone number. The next feature that they have is something called app clips. App clips are basically miniature versions of apps that can be loaded on your phone as needed. So this is something that businesses would do. So they might use an NFC tag or a QR code. So an NFC tag, you would just place your phone up against one of these tags. In fact, we're going to learn about those in the WayAround app in just a moment. And it'll read and it'll bring up a miniature version of an app. So it could also be a QR code which you point your phone at, or if we're on a web page, it may offer to provide you with an app clip. So an example of an app clip might be, we go to Starbucks, for example, and they offer a way to make your order through your phone, but you don't have the Starbucks app on your phone. So they might offer one of these QR codes or a tag, a place you can put your phone, and it'll load a miniature version of the app from the internet. So it doesn't install it, it just temporarily pops it up, and you can fill out some information and even use Apple Pay to make a purchase. They mentioned the use of this in those scooters that people can take their phone and put them up against and rent a scooter that you might see in some of the towns. Starbucks is another example that they used. So we'll see. These is very new, so there's not a lot of them out there. But this might be a future way of getting mini versions of apps on the fly. So very curious to see it applied. Haven't been able to use the feature because I haven't found a place that uses it yet, but mini version of an app. And of course, you can then install the app permanently if you want it. But if you use it just in that moment, the app pops up, you fill some information out, it goes away. You don't have to install anything on your phone. There's also some new privacy features. And these privacy features are important to mention, not just because privacy is an important thing in this very techno-orientated world, but also it's going to pop up some new messages on the phone as you use them, and I want you to be prepared for what those are. So the new privacy features are based around apps that want to get information from your phone that you may or may not want to share to a certain extent. So an example might be you're using an app and you're supposed to share a picture with someone that you've taken. Before, if you allowed an app access to your pictures, that app could look at all of your pictures. Well, that's not exactly what you probably meant when you're trying to share one photograph with an app. So now when you get an app that wants to have access to your photos, a pop-up message appears. And in that pop-up message, it's going to ask you if you want to share all your photos or just a selection of your photos. And if you choose a selection of photos, it's going to bring up a list of all your pictures, and you can write, if you're in VoiceOver, you can flick to the right to move through the photos, or you can tap to select which photos you want, double tap to select if using VoiceOver, and it will only allow that app to see those images. So you can restrict it from seeing all of your pictures. You're also going to find there's ability in some apps that have you create an account to upgrade to with sign in with Apple. Sign in with Apple allows Apple to create a unique password for your account with whatever service it is. And you use your Apple ID password on your phone, the same one you use, or if you're using Face ID or Touch ID to verify yourself on the phone will then send this unique, completely randomized password, much harder to hack into from the outside. And you don't have to worry about memorizing, 100 different passwords, depending on how many accounts you have. I literally think I have 100 accounts. It's ridiculous, but I have different passwords for all of them. And if I use this sign in with Apple, it will create that password automatically. You can also choose whether or not to share your email with that company or not, your actual email, or what they call a temporary email. It's a much bigger topic without getting into it, but Apple Sign In just makes things easy to sign in and let you control your privacy or what that app or company has access to. Finally, as far as privacy goes, there is a feature called approximate location. When you open some apps, they want to know where you are, and the phone has a GPS in it. With that GPS, it can get pinpoint accurate detail of where you are, which maybe you don't really want this app that you don't know exactly who is looking at that information to know. So instead, when it pops up a message saying this app would like to know your location, you have the option to give it precise location or approximate location. So in this case, instead of knowing my address here, it would tell them that I live in the west of Minneapolis, for example, and I don't share my precise location with them. So there's a handful of other small updates. There's a wind down for sleep mode that you can turn on in the health app, and that will send you a notification when you should be going to bed. And it notices when you plug the phone in and go to sleep. It'll track how long it has been since you picked that phone back up, giving you an idea of how long you slept. If you have one of those Apple Watches and you wear it throughout the night, it will actually give you a rundown of how well you slept the night before. So sleep is a new health feature. There's a handful of little updates in the health app as well. And then the normal Apple apps have all gotten little updates as well. The Reminders app, for example, has got some new features. I actually think it's easier to use with VoiceOver than it was before. The Notes app has got some new menus. The Weather app now has messages in it that warn you when it's about to rain in the app. So when it's going to rain and how long it's going to rain. The Shortcuts app, where you can create your own Siri shortcuts, which would be an interesting topic to cover. It's a pretty big and complex, but really cool app. That's gotten new features, and also voice memos has been updated as well. So you can jump in those apps. They've got some new features. They navigate a little bit different. I think for the most part, my experience with VoiceOver in those has been pretty great. Okay, but is there anything in this iOS update other than these little ones that someone who's using low vision or blindness features, get to use that is new? Apple does have a tendency of adding new accessibility features with each update, and this update is no exception. For one, although this will only affect a handful of my clients because it only works on the new phones, but any phone that's a 10S or later will be able to do on-device dictation. That is when you are typing on the iPhone or iPad, the iPhone, and you want to dictate rather than type. There's that microphone button next to the spacebar, or if we're using VoiceOver, two-finger double tap, and I can dictate to it, say what I want it to say. And it will try to type it out loud, and not out loud, try to type it out for me. Normally, that particular feature requires a connection to the internet. It's actually using a web server to do the conversion. On any phone that's a 10S or above, you have the option of doing it on device. So the phone's doing all the processing. And if you don't have a fast, reliable internet connection, you're in a parking garage, in a rural part of the state, it'll be able to dictate anyways. But that's only on the iPhone 10s, so 10s, 11, um, and all the way up to this new phone, the 12. So it's not going to work for everybody, but it is a nice new feature. The next feature, and this is one that we are going to be demoing here in just a moment, is voice over recognition. So voice over recognition basically allows VoiceOver to look at an item on the screen, use machine learning to process what's there, and try to read it out loud. We explored this type of technology just recently in this episode about Seeing AI, Microsoft's app, which we did on our last episode, episode 3. This is similar to some of the image recognition as well, but it exists everywhere on the phone, and it allows certain recognitions to be done inside of other apps as well. So I'd like to actually jump right in and demonstrate this particular feature. So I have got my phone. Let me get the visuals up here. I've got my phone right here, and I'm going to be doing this demonstration with VoiceOver on because, well, it doesn't really work without VoiceOver, but I'm also going to be doing all the rest of my demos with VoiceOver on. If you're not a VoiceOver user, then you can follow along with the visuals, and I'll give any specific instructions that's not VoiceOver specific here. So this VoiceOver recognition mode, first of all, has to be turned on. It downloads a piece of software that allows it to be able to do this advanced recognition. So to do so, I'm going to navigate to the VoiceOver section of the settings. Now, if you're doing this at home and you have iOS 14, then you can ask Siri to open up VoiceOver settings. I'm going to do it the long way. I'm going to go to the settings app here.
Settings.
Double tap. I'm
Settings.
going to go to accessibility.
Accessibility button. Accessibility features help you customize your iPhone for your individual.
And then I'm going to go to the VoiceOver section.
VoiceOver on button. VoiceOver on.
So in the VoiceOver section, there's a couple of things that have changed in here. For one, when you open it up and you start flicking through the main menu, it doesn't give you as long of a tutorial as it used to if you're trying to get to a piece of setting, to a different setting here. We're going to navigate to VoiceOver recognition, and I'm just going to do it the long way, flicking to the right.
VoiceOver speaks items on the screen. Tap once to select. Double tap to activate the learn more link. VoiceOver practice button. Speaking rate heading. Speaking rate 54%. Speech button. Braille button. VoiceOver recognition button.
So we have the new VoiceOver recognition button. I'm going to do one finger double tap.
Using on-device intelligence, your iPhone will automatically improve the accessibility of apps, images, and text. VoiceOver recognition should not be relied upon in circumstances where you could be harmed or injured, in high-risk situations, for navigation, or for the diagnosis or treatment of any medical condition.
So we got the big message from the lawyers, which is actually very important. These recognition tools are rough and they make mistakes, especially when they're trying to recognize text. So we certainly shouldn't rely on them as our sole way of navigating by seeing street signs, or our sole way of getting prescription information off of a prescription bottle, for example. You should have alternative methods for those as well. Not that we can't use these as a resource in a variety of places, just something to keep in mind. Now, I've gone ahead and turned these on, but I'm going to navigate through so you can hear what's there. For example, if I flick to the right,
image descriptions on button.
Image description. So when it comes across an image, it will try to describe it. I'm going to double tap.
Image descriptions on.
So if you turn on this feature, and it takes about
145.5 megabyte used, dimmed.
145.5 megabytes, which is not too much to ask for. When it sees that information, you have it's going to. I've got mine set up to speak. I'm going to go back here.
Image descriptions on button.
In addition to image descriptions, if I keep going,
your iPhone will speak descriptions of images in apps and on the web. Screen recognition on button.
We have the option for screen recognition. As we navigate as a voiceover user in an app that's new, we come across things that are buttons and items, and maybe the app developer didn't label them. They weren't aware of voiceover, they made a mistake. For whatever reason, voiceover is going to try to recognize what type of interactable element this is and describe it to you.
Your iPhone will automatically make apps more accessible by recognizing items on the screen.
This one I've had the most mixed results with. It does a decent job, but it can actually mislabel a button. And if that's the case, like we mentioned on street signs or medication, that means I could accidentally hit a button thinking something else is going to happen. This particular one, the screen recognition, this one's an optional one. You might want to turn it on, try it with your apps, and if it actually causes you some trouble, you might want to turn it off. I consider this one a little bit less useful than the image descriptions. The image descriptions have been very interesting, but it does have some use and it can turn an app that's inaccessible into one that's actually manageable.
Text recognition on.
Next, you have text recognition.
Your iPhone will speak descriptions of text found in images.
So when it sees a image with text, it's going to try to read it out loud. Particularly good for pictures of signs, or maybe someone's posted on social media a photograph with some text on it. In that case, the screen readers usually can't read them. VoiceOver is going to try to do it for us.
Feedback style, play sound, button.
So the feedback style is going to be the way that it tells us or explains to us that what it's about to read is one of these recognitions. Mine's set to play a sound, which is the default. And we're going to see that in just a moment when I open up my Photos app, for example. So this is image recognition. You can turn on image descriptions, screen recognition, text recognition, and choose how you get notified of them. In this case, playing a sound.
Speak.
Which instead it can speak and say, image recognition, text recognition, etc. Or it could do nothing, which means it just reads it out to you. I like getting the sound because it helps me identify whether or not it's a hint that's part of VoiceOver or whether or not it's part of this recognition system. So image recognition sounds interesting. Let's give it a try. So I'm going to do the home gesture on my iPhone because my iPhone is an 11. So I'm dragging up from the bottom. Got that backwards.
Setting.
And from here, I'm going to navigate to Photos.
Photos.
And let's double tap on Photos.
Photos. Date range. All photos. Adjustable.
So Photos app already did a little bit of image recognition built into it before, but it's a great place to demo how this image recognition works here. So I'm going to start flicking to the left to go through my photos, and we're going to start to hear some interesting things.
More button. Select vertical scroll bar. One photo. October 14th. A dog sleeping on a couch.
So you might have heard it said, it made a beep sound and said a dog sleeping on a couch. That is the image recognition working. I'm going to keep going here.
Video. October 13th. A road with trees on either side.
So this was a video I took of the street because we're getting a very windy day and the leaves were going in like little tornadoes. I know there's a name for that, but I just thought that looks interesting. So I shot a little video of it. I can tell this is the right video with VoiceOver because I could hear that it's a video. I can hear that it's of the street. So it gives me a better idea of what this is without me having to open it and listen to it and try to figure it out if I couldn't make out the visuals. Now, most of these photos, if I flick to the left again.
Live photo, October 4th, a dog lying on a couch.
It's going to be pictures of my dog, Connor.
Video, October 3rd, a road with trees on either side. September 29th, a dog lying on a couch.
Lots of pictures of my dog lying on a couch.
Live photo, September 28th, a wooden table on a gray carpet.
So this is a picture of a coffee table that I actually made as part of a woodworking project. So it's giving me some pretty decent descriptions. Now, my particular photos are mostly pictures of my dogs and little home projects, but it does do a pretty good job with some more complex images as well. But the nice thing to know is that it beeps and lets me know that what I'm looking at is a actual image recognition feature. If it has text, it'll just try to say it automatically. It does make mistakes. I think I've got a photo in here that's got some text in it. So I'm actually going to scroll up
Page 1273 of 1274. Live photo. September 24th. A photo containing a curtain and a table.
Let me see if I'm going to double tap on this photo here to get a
Library.
closer look
Back.
at it.
September. Edit. Live photo. September 24th. Actions available. A group of lights in a dark area. YQU.
So this one's not having a great time with. The text is a little bit it's a big bold text, but it's a little bit distorted and not the clearest. It's supposed to be text that says "Spook You 2021." It's a big picture, a big cutout wooden bat that we're going to put in front of the yard to let people know that unfortunately we're not going to be handing out candy this year, but we will be around for next year here. So as you can see, I've got some text on the screen, but it's not giving me a particularly great description of it. I have noticed in a bunch of other photos that it actually does do a really good job of picking out the text. If there's a lot of small text though, that's where that Seeing AI app is still a standout. So that is a demonstration of how the image recognition works
Photo.
on the iPhone. Now, that's not all the features here. I just wanted to stop there for a moment. Some other accessibility features that are available on the phone in the accessibility sections that might be of interest is something called headphone accommodations. Headphone accommodations only works with Apple's AirPods, AirPod Pro, or their Beats headphones, but we might see some expansion of this later. What it does is it allows us to tell it about what type of audio ranges we hear most clearly, and it will actually adjust the sound on the device for people who are hard of hearing. So if you've lost some hearing at a certain range, for example, a high or low range, it will adjust the sound to accommodate that. Also, if you find that the sounds in the iPhone are not loud enough, it will attempt to boost those in the headphones to make them a bit louder than the headphones were originally designed to play. So adjusts the tone and the volume, and this will apply to music and phone calls, some of the most important places for hearing sounds on your device. If you're totally deaf, there's also a feature called sound recognition. Sound recognition listens to the environment around you and warns you when it hears certain sounds that might be of interest, like a fire alarm, a doorbell, or even a dog barking or a baby crying, for example. You'll find that in the hearing section of accessibility. One little note though, I thought it might be fun to turn that on and just try it for a while. If you do use sound accommodations, it does disable the Hey Siri feature from working. And it does that because it's using that same background microphone that feature uses. And so it can't do them both at the same time. The other feature that might be of interest is a feature called the back tap. The back tap allows you to run a custom command when you tap the back of the phone twice. You could use this as an alternative way of turning VoiceOver on and off. If you find that the asking Siri or pressing the side button or the shortcut feature to be less reliable. You'll find that also in settings.
Settings. Do nothing. VoiceOver
Also in
recognition.
accessibility,
Back button.
but not in the VoiceOver section here. You're going to find
Touch.
it
But rows 8 to 21 of 23.
in the, I went too far here.
Rows 12 to 23 of rows 1 to 14 of touch button.
You're going to find this particular feature in the physical and motor
Unassistive touch
section.
off button. Rows 4 to 9 of 9.
So if you navigate to the accessibility section, go to the touch section and go all the way down near the bottom.
Rows
here
4 to 9 of 9. Back tap on button.
Is a new back tap feature.
Double or triple tap on the back of your iPhone to perform actions quickly. Back tap on button.
If I double tap on that,
Double tap app switcher button.
I have a feature now. So if I tap the back of my phone twice, it opens up the apps switcher.
App switcher. Settings active.
So I just
Actions available.
tap the back of the phone quickly. You can tap it twice or 3 times and set the particular function you want to have happen.
Settings. Double tap. Settings. Touch. Back tap. Double tap. App switcher.
So I'm going back to the back tap section. On the double tap, I'm double tapping
None.
on that.
Accessibility shortcut. System. Selected. App switcher. Control center. Home. Lock screen. Mute.
And there's a variety of features in there. You could use it to turn on voiceover if you want to, or do a variety of other things. It's an interesting feature. Just remember that's in the touch section of accessibility. So those are some of the core accessibility updates. We've gone over in great long detail the various things that are part of iOS 14. But the big question is, should I do it? Is there a reason why I wouldn't want to? So generally speaking, it's been a very stable update. People using magnification or using the visuals can probably update and get used to some of the new changes with no trouble at all. VoiceOver has been running fairly well on it, but there's a big bug in there that they have yet to fix yet that could affect you depending on how you use the phone. This particular app bug is something that shows up when you're navigating web pages in Safari, web views in apps, or various different multi-page apps, for example. What we find is that VoiceOver's focus, that is where VoiceOver is paying attention on the screen, will spontaneously jump to another section. Now, for the most part, I haven't found this hit me too many places, but if you're using Safari, for example, and in Safari, you're using the rotor to navigate by headings, I noticed that when I flick down, it reads something and then jumps one line up and reads that one instead. Now, in a Google search, that's actually okay. I end up still on the search result here, but it can be really frustrating inside of other applications or other web pages as well. So if you're using the header shortcut, for example, a lot inside of web pages, that jump can be rather obnoxious. It is something we could work around for the most part, but it can be very frustrating. And if you're new to VoiceOver and mastering the rotor, you might want to wait a little bit before doing this update. This particular bug is really bad in one section of the App Store also. In the App Store, there's a My Account section. And the My Account section is a very important section. The reason why it's very important is in addition to being the place where you can change your address and credit card information, it's also the place we go to unsubscribe from apps or features we've subscribed to. And I found that menu, it jumps to the top over and over again. It's almost impossible to use. This update, there's probably an update coming out in the next couple days to weeks that'll fix this. And I use the Apple Viz webpage to keep update on what various updates and bugs exist for VoiceOver. That's Apple Viz, applevis.com. It's a great resource to post at questions about particularly Apple products and their accessibility. And they always test the software updates. They always list off the bugs in the latest version. And they generally have posts regarding these fixes. And so I'll be playing around and testing it on mine, but it's also a good place that you can check. That's applevis.com, all lowercase. There are a couple other smaller bugs as well. Sometimes the reading in VoiceOver can get a bit laggy from time to time, so being a little bit slow. Many times I've been able to resolve it by flipping off VoiceOver off and then back on again, and that has cleared it up. So it's not a big one, but can be frustrating. And if you have an older phone, I noticed it's a little bit more frequent to happen. Also, we mentioned those widgets earlier. A bunch of the third-party widgets have reading issues, and some of them have scrolling issues when they have more than one page of information. That could be frustrating. So you can get around that by maybe holding off on playing around with the widgets feature, or just sticking to some of the basic ones that are included. And then some people have said they've had some very mixed results with that speech recognition feature for recognizing different buttons and labels inside of apps. And I mentioned that you can turn that feature on and off. The problem has mostly been inconsistent, as in you open the app one day and it says, oh, I think that's an add button because it looks like a plus sign, even though it's not labeled. And next time it'll just say plus instead of add, for example. So, it's inconsistency can be particularly confusing with the screen reader. And so that's another reason why you might want to consider. Usually, I would tell people to wait about 2 months after a software update, but if you can accommodate these bugs and you really like some of those new features, I don't think it's as important to wait this time. They did a pretty good job, but I'm really hoping that reading order on web pages when using the rotor gets fixed, because I use that particular feature a lot and I teach people how to use it, and it being inconsistent in any way is frustrating. So, oof, that was a lot about iOS 14. So let's move on to our next topic, where we're going to be talking about WayAround. So WayAround is an app that uses NFC technology to tag items around the home for quick recognition. Now, there's a lot of recognition devices out there. I mentioned earlier, Seeing AI is one that you pointed and it tries to read text or tries to read a barcode off of something. There's a lot of devices where you can get little stickers to put on things and use a device like the Pen Friend, which is a pen-shaped device that you can tap to those stickers and it'll play back a recording that you made. What makes WayAround different, I'm actually going to
Settings.
open WayAround here. Open WayAround app. What makes
Banner.
WayAround
Landmark.
different is that it uses NFC, which is near field communication. It's little short range radio waves, and it uses them through little tags that you get. What I'm holding here is a button. It looks like a little black button, but inside of it is an NFC tag, a little tiny transmitter sending a little radio signal out. That's just basically it's just a bunch of numbers. They come in all these different shapes and sizes. I've got a couple stickers here. They've got some clips. And the way this works is the app for WayAround is completely free, but you need to purchase these little tags in order to use the app. The tags you can buy from the webpage, like I said, stickers, magnets, even buttons that you can sew into clothing, tags you can clip on the things. They tend to average out to be about $1 a tag, and they are reusable, other than, the stickers are a bit hard to peel off and reuse, but you can reuse any of the magnetic ones or you can get a collection here. What I have is I just bought a little demo pack from them, which was pretty cheap. And the way that this works is that your phone has a NFC reader in it. And you can hold the phone close to the tag. It will read it and identify it and play back whatever information you want it to when you put it nearby that tag. A couple caveats here. So first of all, with a tool like this, like the Pen Friend, you are labeling things. So you might need a sighted person to assist with your initial labeling of things. Or if you're bringing in products like you just went to the grocery store and you got something, some meat, for example, and you want to label when you bought it so that you can check that date, so you're going to throw it in the freezer and you want to be able to check that date later. You can put one of these stickers in there and it doesn't care about the cold or the freezer whatsoever. So you are going to have to label these yourself. The other thing is you need a phone that has an NFC reader in it. Now for the iPhones, that's pretty straightforward. An iPhone 7 or newer has an NFC reader in it. So 7, 7S, 8, 8S, 10, 10S, 11, etc. All of those have an NFC reader in it. If you have an Android phone, it's there's not a specific model or type that necessarily comes with it. They've become very frequent. Samsung adapted them pretty early into their phones as well. So check with your manual, check with your phone carrier to find out if your phone has NFC. You can also download the app and attempt to use it even without one of these tags, and it will let you know if it's able to talk to that NFC reader or not. If you do like this demo we're about to do here and you say, I wish I had it, but I've got an iPhone 6S and I don't want to buy a new phone. Well, that's reasonable. You can buy a device from WayAround called the WayLink scanner. It's a little, looks like a little puck really, and it connects to your device with Bluetooth. And so instead of holding your phone, you'd hold this puck nearby it. So those are the various ways this NFC readers works. But in order to use those, like I said, you do need these tags here. Now you can go online and buy NFC stickers and tags just from Amazon, but they will not work with the WayAround. They have to be these special ones. They have a special coded number that allows it to understand and talk to the app. There's a couple of reasons why they do that. But you do need to use theirs. I mentioned that they come as magnets, stickers, clips, or even buttons that you can sew in. And they're not particularly expensive. You can buy a whole pack of them, about $1 each. So let me show you how this actually works here. So I've got my tags here, but what I also have is I have an item of clothing I've already set up here. This is a fleece that I have, and I going to put one of these tags actually inside one of the pockets. So I can actually sew this into the pocket if I want. NFC just needs to be within an inch or two, so it can go through fabric and other thin objects. I've got the WayAround app already opened up. I opened it up with Siri at the beginning of the demo here. And the app layout for reading is quite simple. There is at the bottom a read and a create button. With VoiceOver, I'm going to navigate there just by flicking to the right.
Way Cloud connected. Image. Settings. Button. Scanner ready. Press the red button below, then hold the top part of your phone on the Way tag until you feel a double click. Read. Button.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit that read button here. And then I'm going to find, I said I put that clip in there. And of course, I thought I'd be able to feel it easily. There it is. I can feel that little clip there. I'm going to double tap on the read, or if you're not using VoiceOver, just tap on read. And I'm going to hold the top part of my phone close to the tag. I don't have to be super, super close. It uses the same reader that the credit
App
card
switcher.
reader uses well.
Read alert. Ready to scan. Ready to scan.
I'm going to tap on that read. And I'm just going to put the top of the phone nearby that clip, which of course is falling here. I'm going to hold that up to it.
Red zipper up fleece.
And it says red zipper up fleece. That's something that I set up. I'm going to show you how I did that earlier. And if I flick to the right with VoiceOver.
Sorting. Darks. Washing. Machine wash normal. Drying. Tumble dry, low heat. Other. Do not use fabric softener.
I get additional information as well. So I just need to hold my phone up close to the tag within a couple inches or so. I can move it around if I need to, and it will read that tag rather quickly. So unlike something like Seeing AI, which has to read a barcode and I have to get it exact like a foot away and then line it up here, I can just touch my phone directly to the thing I want to read. And these tags are all tactile, so I can get an idea of where they are and I can get it to read anything. But let's actually create one of these. Like I mentioned, the tags by themselves are not programmed to anything. It's up to you to decide what you're going to put that tag on. So if I want to create one, I'm going to flick to the right again with VoiceOver, or in the bottom right, you're going to see a create button.
Scanner ready. Press the read button, edit button, create button.
I'm going to double tap on create.
Create way tag, heading level 1.
It's going to open up a screen where I can start to add my information. Now, there's actually only one piece of information I have to add, and that's a description. Description is what's going to be read when I scan this tag. I'm going to move myself to the description text box.
Way Cloud connected, image, description, heading level 2. Enter the text you want written to the Way tag, multi-line text field.
So I'm going to double tap because I want to add to that.
Multi-line text field is editing. Enter the text you want written to the Way tag. Insert.
And I want to add in a description here. I can type this with the keyboard, or I can do a two-finger double tap if I'm using VoiceOver to dictate, or press the little microphone button. And maybe I want to label this, this bottle here because maybe it doesn't have water in it. Maybe it has something else. Maybe it's got my, it's the bottle I always keep my tea in, but it's the exact same shape and size as my water bottle. I want to label this bottle. And of course, it's not the type of metal that is magnetic, but we're going to pretend that it is here. So I want to add my description. I'm going to do a 2-finger double tap in this case because I'm using VoiceOver, and I'm going to dictate in iced tea bottle. All right, and because of the way I got this rigged up here, VoiceOver is not repeating this to you because it hasn't switched its audio settings yet. You don't need to worry about this. When you do it, it'll read it back to you. Iced tea bottle. I'm going to flick to the left.
Description, heading level 2. Iced tea bottle, multi-line text field.
And I can hear I wrote in iced tea bottle. Now, optionally, there's some more options here. If I flick to the right,
Detail type, select, pop-up button.
I can add a detail type. And what the detail type does is it adds some additional text fields where I can put in additional information about this item. I said this part isn't necessary. The description that I just added is everything it will read when the scanner hits. The detail type, anything I add there, will be displayed below that. And I can flick to the right to get that information. That's how I added the washing instructions for this fleece, for example. I'm going to double tap on that.
Detail type, select, pop-up button, select, picker item, adjustable, 1 of 11.
So up comes the picker. I've got 11 different options. Well, it's actually 10 different options, 11 being the select. If you choose select, it assumes we want nothing here. I'm going to swipe up to move through the picker item, and here are the different options there.
Appointment, artwork, business card, cleaning supply, clothing care.
For instance, here's clothing care. When I chose clothing care, that's what allowed me to add in the washing instructions, for example.
Custom,
Custom, if I want to add in my own text fields and additional information.
file, grocery item.
Just so you can see what it's like, I'm going to choose grocery item. And we'll hear the different options we do for labeling a grocery item or bringing into the house. I'm going to flick to the left.
Toolbar, done, button.
And there's a done button that I can press.
Create way tag. Back to WayAround.
And it's going to reload that page, but now there's new grocery item options. I'm going to flick to the right to get to those.
Create way tag. Way cloud connect. Description. Iced tea bottle. Detail type. Grocery item. Pop-up. Grocery item. Heading level 2. Dietary information. Select. Pop-up button.
So I can add dietary information if I want.
Certifications. Select. Pop-up button. Purchase date. Pop-up button. Best before. Pop-up button.
And I can double tap in any of these fields to add that additional information, like a best before or purchase date, etc. So if this was an item that is perishable, I could add additional information in. I can still add custom items as well as I keep going. I'm going to leave this just iced tea bottle for simplicity here. So now I'm just going to flick to the right until I get to the right option.
Other date. Pop. Add a custom detail. Add a link. Button. Right button.
Now I'm going to double tap on right.
Right alert. Ready to scan. Ready to scan.
And I'm going to scan the tag that I want to add, in this case, the magnetic one. Just going to put it near the phone.
Success. Way tag. WayAround. Success. Way tag written.
Great. It vibrates.
Iced tea bottle.
It tells me what it's labeled it as, and I now have a new label I can use. So I'm going to flick to the right again and here read.
Scanner ready. Press read button.
Double tap on read.
Ready to scan. Ready to scan.
Hold that up against the magnetic label that I have affixed to my bottle.
Iced tea bottle.
And it reads it out loud. So it's a different type of tagging system for labeling things. This can be particularly useful when labeling clothing, for example. I mentioned the buttons, for example. You can add this button or just sew this button onto a piece of clothing and it will go through the wash, no problem. The NFC tag is safely secure inside of that. And these will last for a couple of years. You will eventually have to replace them. They do have little tiny batteries in them. They don't last forever, but they'll last a couple of years at least. They come, like I said, they're about $1 each. We do have to do quite a bit of homework to get the most out of this app, but it's great for labeling things around the house or for perishable items or for clothing. Um, I've even had seen some people use them to add in through the custom feature instructions. So sticking one of these stickers onto, for example, the microwave, adding in to the WayAround custom section descriptions like where are the buttons or how to use it or general instructions that'll show up, and you can play those back on those items. It's especially good for an item around the house that you don't use frequently and you might forget the button layout or the steps for a particularly common microwave setting, for example. So that is the WayAround app. Completely, the app, like I said, the app is free. And you can use it to, but you do need to use their special tags in order to uh, use the app more effectively. Now they do have a deal going on right now, and if you go to if you're using user of the Ira app, so the Ira app is one of those apps where you connect with a where you connect with an operator who can see what's on the screen. Usually you have to pay so much per minute on an application like that. If you do use that app, if you go to the promotions section, you can get 10 free minutes to help label items around the house. Alternatively, you could use an app like Be My Eyes to connect with an operator to also help with getting those descriptions for the app like WayAround. So we can combine the different apps and tools we've heard about in order to get the most out of WayAround. So with that, let's move on to our final topic, remote access. Now, when it comes to remote access on the computer, that allows somebody to connect from a distance to your machine, see what's on the screen, and in some cases, depending on how you choose to use it, actually control your computer. I use this particular feature with a handful of my clients to assist with instruction and also to assist with technical support. Now, there are a variety of tools out there that can be installed that add in ways for people to connect, like TeamViewer, for example. But those require someone to install software on the computer before they can work. And I wanted to find a solution that would just work for people. So there are two ways that I commonly connect to people who are not using any of these specialized programs. Both of them are built into both the Apple and the Windows computers. The catch with these is you have to have the same type of machine. So if you want to connect to someone who's using a Windows computer, or you want someone to connect to you and you are a Windows user, you need to connect, that person needs to also have a Windows machine. Specifically, the feature we're going to be talking about is built into Windows 10. On the Apple side, if someone's using a Mac computer, an iMac, a Mac Mini, a MacBook Air, they also, the person who's connecting to you, they also have to be using a Mac. So this is from one branded device to another branded device. Or I should say brands, not one type of computer to another type of computer. I don't want to say brand because if you get a Samsung computer, for example, a Lenovo can still connect to that as long as they're on Windows 10. So same operating system, to be precise. Unfortunately, neither of these particular features work for connecting to smartphones like the iPhone or Android phones. And they also don't work with the tablets as well. But if you are looking for someone to support you or you are supporting somebody else, you can use one of these two tools. Oh, I should say there is one more thing before I go into them in detail. Neither of these two features are particularly friendly if you are connected to someone else and you are a screen reader. What I mean by that is if, For instance, you were using NVDA on a Windows computer and you had another friend who had NVDA, and you want to be able to connect to their computer and control their screen reader, for example. These tools are made to control the mouse and the keyboard. They trying to change the information going through the keyboard, and they don't allow you to effectively control someone else's screen reader. If you are using a screen reader and you want to connect and support someone who also has a screen reader, you are going to need a more specialized tool. If you're in JAWS, JAWS has a feature called JAWS Tandem that I use for that. And that will allow you, if you're a screen reader, control someone else's computer using their screen reader. So this is more for if you are a screen reader user, getting support from somebody else more than it is supporting somebody who also has a screen reader. So I just want to make that particular caveat there. And if we want to go into, we can do a section on JAWS Tandem or one of these other screen reader tools as well, but they do require both people to be using specialized software, which is the reason why I'm sticking to just the core built-in stuff today. So I'm going to, now can't easily remotely connect to one of my machines. I don't have enough computers. I don't have 2 Macs to connect to the other Mac and Windows machines to connect to Windows machines. So I'm going to be talking about this in detail. Visual wise, I'm going to be putting a little slideshow up showing what some of those screens look like. But this will be particularly helpful if you're trying to get support, or if you do work with me and I'm trying to remotely connect to you, we might use this as well. Like I said, if you're a JAWS user, though, we're going to use JAWS Tandem for that. But regardless, let's talk about Windows. So the Windows operating system, Windows 10, added a new application a couple of years ago called Windows Quick Assist. It's already built in. You don't have to download it. Windows Quick Assist allows a support person to share a number with you that all you have to do is type in to the Quick Assist program to allow them to connect to you. The way you get to Windows Quick Assist is one of 3 ways. The quickest way is using a keyboard shortcut. Control Windows and the letter Q will automatically launch Quick Assist. Now, if you have trouble with that particular keyboard command, instead, you can hit the Windows key on your computer, type the word Quick Assist, and press Enter. That'll do a quick search for the program and launch it. You still can't find it. Quick Assist is a program. It will show up in the Utilities section of your All Application list. You can also get to it there. Most of the time, we just use the keyboard command, Control, Windows, Q, Q for Quick Assist. So it'll open up a window that looks like this. It says, Microsoft Quick Assist enables 2 people to share a computer over a remote connection so that one person can help solve problems on another person's computer. And in larger text, it says Quick Assist. On the screen is a box that says Code from Assistant. When you open this up, that's where your focus is. So you just do that shortcut and you're going to type in the number. Now, if you are supporting someone, how do you get that number to share with them? Well, there's another button at the bottom called Assist Other Person. You can also tab to it in addition to clicking on it. And when you move to that Assist Another Person, you click on that, you're going to be brought to a screen that will, let me see if I can get my transition to work here. Oh, I'm having some slideshow problems. Here. Let me try that one more time. Oh, my slideshow doesn't want to move. That's okay. We're going to talk our way through it anyways. So when you click on that Assist Another Person button, it's going to bring you to a screen and it's going to give you a number to share. It's a 6-digit number. Now, if this is the first time you've ever used this, you do need to have a Microsoft account, which is free and is usually set up when you set up your computer as well. There's a place to set it up in here as well. And that is you use an email address and a password for that. They do require you to have a Microsoft account so that if they find out that you're trying to use this to remotely connect to people and steal from them or something like that, they can cut you off. So if you're harassing or causing issues, they want you to register with them so that they have some control over that. So if you have a Microsoft account already, you set up the computer, it's got a Microsoft account signed in, and you hit that quick get assist another person, you will get a number. If you are getting assistant, you don't need to have a Microsoft account. It's only for the person who's trying to connect to you. So I hit that assist another person button. I have a 6-digit number. I tell that person, type in that 6-digit number. They do that, and then they press enter on their keyboard, and then it's going to process. It's going to think. On the assistance side, they're going to see a screen asking if you would like to just observe the other person's computer or you'd like to be able to control it. So if you're going to be fixing something on their computer or you're going to be receiving assistance, the person's going to click control. If it's just observing, they're going to choose just observe instead. As soon as they do that, on the person getting assistance screen, the one who put the number in, they're going to get one more message. It's going to pop up and say, would you like this person to be able to get access to your computer or just see your computer? You're going to tab to that if you're on a screen reader, or click on a big blue button that says allow. It's also going to give you some warnings on this page about scams, because since you don't want to give control to someone you don't know, it is worth noting that you should only be doing this with friends or technicians that you are aware of. If someone calls you asking to offer support and you do not know who they are, don't give it to them. Companies like Microsoft, assistive technology companies, Apple including, will almost never call you out of the blue saying, oh, we're reporting something wrong with your computer. They don't have that type of access. They're liars. Hang up on them. I've even had a client who I didn't identify myself well enough, and I connected with them and they hung up on me, and I said, you know what? That was the right call. If someone's trying to give you support, especially remote support, and you do not know them, hang up. Anyway, so after they connect, you will see on the top of the screen a little window that lets you know that someone's connected remotely to you, and they'll be able to see or control the computer at that point. Once the session's end, you'll get a message. Once the person disconnects from you, you will get a message that pops up that'll let you know that your remote connection has ended. So that is how I usually connect to someone who is low vision or is using a screen reader that's not JAWS, for example, or they're using Zoom text, for example. Now, if you are on an Apple computer, there's also a built-in feature that can do that, and it's actually built into the Messages app, which is used for sending text messages or audio messages or photo messages back and forth. And I'm very curious if my slideshow is working now. It is not. That's okay. So inside of the Messages app, if you open that Messages app up, it has a window with a list of people that you have texted before. It can synchronize with your phone. And there's a place at the top to compose a new message. So if you're using VoiceOver, it's Control-Alt-Right arrow to get there, or you can hit Command-N. And you then can type in the name or the email address of the person you want to connect with, or you would like to connect to you. This is all done through your Apple ID, which is another thing, kind of like the Microsoft account, that you set up usually when you start your computer or you get a new phone. It's the account that you use to put in to download apps or to make major changes to the computer. So in the Messages app, you would hit New Message, type the name of the person you want to connect with, or if you are the person who is trying to connect with you, same exact steps. You hit the new, you type in their email address. If you want to test to make sure the message is working, you can actually type a message in. It's not really necessary. And then in the menu bar, at the very top of the screen where it says File, Edit, there is a menu option that says Buddies. If you click on buddies, you'll have a list of options, including ask to share my screen or ask to share screen. So you can offer to share, if you are trying to get support from someone else, you offer to share your screen. If you are giving support to someone else, you ask to share screen. So up in the menu bar, once again, if you're in VoiceOver, that's the VO or control option M to move to the menu bar. Press right to your buddies and down to choose whether or not how you want to connect. Ask to invite to share screen, for example. A notification will appear. So if someone's asking to get support from you, a notification will pop up in the top right corner of your screen asking if you would like to allow this person. It will list their email address or their Apple ID to identify who they are. You then have to choose the allow button. So control option right arrow to get to the allow button, or click on it with the mouse. Now, the first time you connect this way, you're going to get a pop-up message, just like on the Windows side, asking if you want to allow this person to control the computer or just to observe your computer. It's a bullet, so you want to choose the bullet that's appropriate. If you've never done this before, you can just tab to the accept button and it will allow that person to connect. And so now they can remotely see the computer, and if you've chosen to allow them to control the computer, they'll be able to control. And I use this when I'm supporting people on an Apple computer to work remotely. So it's all built in. So on Windows, we've got Quick Assist. On Apple, we've got Messages. Two built-in free tools for remotely connecting to, getting remotely connected to, or remotely connecting to other people. If you've got more questions about remote access, how to use the JAWS version of it, how you might do it if you're using NVDA instead of JAWS, go ahead and send us a message, text message, or give us a call, and we'll add that as a potential demonstration for the show as well. And so with that, we're going to move finally over to our Q&A section. And at this point, if you are a Zoom member, I'm going to offer to unmute people. If you'd like to ask a question, feel free to unmute yourself. You might get a notification on your computer or through your phone when I do this. It will not unmute you automatically. If you are on a Windows computer, that's Alt-A to unmute. On a Mac, it's Command-Shift-A to unmute yourself as well. If you would like to ask a question, I'm going to give a little moment here. I do have a pre-written question from somebody who submitted earlier, which is which I can share here. I think someone unmuted themselves here, but I'm not hearing you. So if you've got a question, it looks like Gasner, it looks like
Yep.
you're unmuted here. Oh, hey, did you have a question?
No, I was just thinking I needed to be unmuted here to continue, but no, I don't. But
Oh, well, that's quite all right. That's quite all right. So yeah, well, yeah,
otherwise
no.
you want me muted, right?
Well, if you've got anything comes up, you can mute or unmute, or you can just be quiet here. I'll go ahead. I've got a pre-done question here, but well, you're also letting me know last time we did this, no one unmuted themselves, and I started to get nervous that it was my fault that I couldn't unmute. So I'm actually glad that you unmuted. I know things are working correctly.
Good.
All right.
Good. I'm glad I helped you a little bit.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, that's right. So I did have a question that someone left on our phone line here. Let me bring that up here. So one person was asking, this is about VoiceOver on the iPhone, about they were fiddling around and touching the top part of the phone, and the top part of the phone is the status bar. And when I touched there, the VoiceOver hint kicked in and mentioned something about the notification center and control center. And they're like, well, what is that? And how do I get to it with VoiceOver? So usually with And actually, I'll flip over here so we can, if people are using the visuals, they can see my phone screen here. So on the phone with voiceover on, I mentioned the very top, there's a place at the very top left, it's got the time. On the top right, it's got the battery level. And the only way to get there easily with voiceover without a keyboard, for example, is to just kind of drag your finger around those corners. So if I drag my finger in the top right corner of my phone,
100% battery power, not charging, status bar item.
I found the status bar. That's the battery level in this case here. And there is two things you can get to from the status bar here. And it would normally give you a voiceover hint. I've got my hints turned off because I don't need them as often. And it keeps the phone from talking over me when I'm doing a demo. But if you touch up there, you're going to hear something about a 3-finger flick up and a 3-finger flick down. And these access the notification center and the control center. So without voiceover, the notification center, you would take one finger on the left or middle of the phone and drag down, and it brings up a list of notifications. These might be text messages. Some of your apps might send you notifications, voicemail messages, anything that's new or something that's happened in between you using the phone. And if you flick down from the very top right corner without voiceover, it opens up Control Center, which is a list of buttons of different things you can do. It's to quickly give you access to things like airplane mode, do not disturb, etc. I'm going to show you both of those real quick. So if you're using voiceover, those pull down gestures, they don't work quite the same. So if I put focus in the status bar and I do a 3-finger flick down,
Notification center, do not disturb, 328.
that's going to open up this notification center. So notification center is a list of notifications. It also has the time in it. It looks a lot like the lock screen on the phone. And if I can read what's here, it does support large print, or I can flick to the right. Let's hear some of my notifications, for example.
Friday, October 16th. Do not disturb, calls and notifications will be silenced until do not disturb is turned off. Do not disturb button. Actions available.
Keeps cutting me off here. I use do not disturb whenever I'm doing a demo like this. It prevents phone calls and text messages from popping up when I'm in the middle of doing a demonstration. And it's just letting me know that that's on here. I'm going to flick to the right. I've got some more interesting notifications here.
SIMPLISAFE, 1 hour ago, ding dong, someone is at your front door on 10/16/20 at 2:22 p.m. button.
So
actions available.
Someone rang my doorbell at 2:22. I've got a smart doorbell that sends me notifications. That was in the middle of this demo, but because I had do not disturb on, it didn't interrupt me here. So I've got a Simply Safe smart doorbell that I like. It lets me know when the doorbell's rung and even lets me see a video of who's there and even talk to them without answering the door. If I flick to the right again,
SIMPLISAFE, 1 hour ago, camera detected motion, front door camera detected motion on 10/16/20 at 2:22.
So it also has a motion sensor on it. It's set up to you have to be right at my front door because it will record a short video of who's there. I'm gonna keep going to the right here.
Notification center. Clear, notification center, button.
So now
actions
moving
available.
to the older notifications.
Apple Card vertical line wallet, grouped, 5 hours ago, Apple Store, $96.47, 5 more notifications, button. Action.
So this is about my wallet. I have an Apple Card. I used it to put a bit of money down on one of those new phones. It's my time to upgrade. Hey, I'm getting the new phones all the time. It's spending way too much money on it. And that's the money I put down to put a hold on that phone, for example. It's expandables. And if I double tap, it'll give me a whole list here. And this would bring up a list of everything I've used my Apple Card, my credit card for. I'm not going to open that here because I can't remember what I ordered for them, and it might be a little embarrassing. It's mostly Apple stuff, actually, to be honest. I've been spending a little bit more money on technology lately than perhaps I should. So this is the notification center. So I touched the status bar at the top and I did 3 fingers down. It lists me off my most recent notifications. You can also flick up to get more options and remove or clear notifications as well. And I can do the home button or the home gesture to get out of that.
WayAround.
So notifications, I do like that. Allows me to see what's been going on with the phone. The other piece of that is the control center. So I'm going to touch that status bar again.
Campo, 3 of 3 Wi-Fi bars, status bar item.
So that's my Wi-Fi signal. It's also in the status bar. It doesn't matter which status bar I'm on. I'm gonna do a 3-finger flick up.
Control center, airplane mode, switched button, off.
And
Actions available.
it opens up Control Center, which has got a variety of shortcuts to common things. Airplane mode's there. I'm gonna flick to the right.
Cellular data, switched button, on.
I can turn
Actions
off my
available.
cellular data. If I've got a data cap that I'm afraid of hitting, it'll turn off the cellular data, but I can still make phone calls.
Wi-Fi, Campo, Bluetooth, switched button, show media controls, iPhone WayAround System CE, Minis 0200.
So I've got a little podcast that's playing right now that's describing.
Track position, 6 minute, rewind 15 second, play, but, fast forward, lock rotation, switched button, do not disturb, switched button, on. Action.
And it's going to bring me through a variety of short controls here. If you go into the settings of your phone, there's actually a section called Control Center where you can control what is here. So these are just quick buttons to get to quick functions. A lot of the things that you'll find in here, you can actually get to with Siri. So I actually don't use the Control Center too often, but with the exception of airplane mode and do not disturb. So I'm going to get out of that. So that is the Control Center and notification real briefly. And quickly how we can get to that. Putting focus in the status bar, just touching that very top section of your phone until it says you're in the status bar. You'll hear the time, the battery level, your signal strength, and then 3 fingers down for notifications, 3 fingers up for Control Center. And if you can't remember that, voiceover hints will tell you as soon as you get in the status bar if you just give it a moment. So that is notifications, and that is Control Center there. So if I'm going to give just a moment here. If anybody has any more questions, we're just hitting 3:30, and an hour and a half is about the length I like these to be. And it's about how long my voice can keep out after I've done a morning of trainings as well. I'm drinking a lot of water here.
Jonathan, I got a quick question while you're on the Control Center. When I go into the accessibility and turn on my voiceover, and do a shortcut where I can triple click to access it. If I want to do the shortcut with the magnifier, when I triple click, it'll give me a little menu then, correct? It can't do one or the other.
That's right. So on the phone, there is a feature the accessibility shortcut, what we're talking about. So if you open up the accessibility section, go to the very bottom, there's an accessibility shortcut, has a list of features. You can turn on voiceover, and great, you've got to tap the home button or the side button, depending on which phone you have, and it will turn voiceover on and off. I love to do that. But there's also the magnifier. Magnifier is another great feature in low vision, and allows you to use the phone like a little CCTV, right? You see what the cameras you can zoom in into. But if you turn the magnifier on and then you try to use your tap the home button 3 times, now instead of just turning on voiceover, it opens up a menu. It wants to know which one do you want, voiceover or magnifier. And you have to choose between the two. And if you try to use the turn off voiceover and you've got the magnifier turned on and you press it 3 times, it opens up and then you've got to choose from that list. And that can be a bit challenging when that shortcut for voiceover on off is so nice. So you're right, that does happen. Unfortunately, there's no way to change it so you can say, hey, I don't want the magnifier. I want voiceover on and off by default. The magnifier is tied to the accessibility shortcut. Gotcha. So I haven't found a way to separate them out yet.
Gotcha.
So a couple workarounds, if you are dealing with iOS 14, which we talked about, you can assign things like the magnifier or voiceover to the back tapping the phone twice. And you can then use the home button as the accessibility shortcut. That kind of is a workaround, but you do need the newest version of the operating system to do that. I tried doing a workaround with shortcuts because you can create a shortcut in shortcuts that basically adds a button to the home menu. that allows you to open up the magnifier. And unfortunately, that still didn't work either. The accessibility shortcut still flipped up both. So what I will do is I'm going to look into this a little bit further, just to see if iOS 14's got another solution. Because with iOS 14, you can also add magnifier as a shortcut to the main menu, and you can open it with VoiceOver, and so that might offer some more choices. But that's a really good point. So the short answer is, yeah, yes, that is a problem, and I don't have a solution for it. But they might offer us some new options with this update, and I'll verify that.
Thank you.
As you probably should do a whole section on the magnet. I mean, I can't remember if we did a section on the magnifier or not, but if I haven't, I'm definitely gonna do a section on the magnifier, because that's a good feature to know about too. It works really good on the iPad too. Well, all right. I think we're heading up here a little bit. We're running out of time here. I don't think I've got anybody else who's unmuted themselves. So with that, I think we're going to close out the episode here. Thanks again for joining us. If you do have additional questions you want to have answered in the Q&A section, you don't want to unmute during it, or the unmuting's giving you trouble, you can always give us a call, 320-428-0122. You can text that number, you can call it 320-428-0122. And also, if you have other people that you think might be interested, let them know. They can go to blind.support/signup, give us an email address, and we will notify you when we have new episodes coming out. And right now we're doing it roughly every other week. That's just what my schedule is allowing me to do. So if you have any thoughts, suggestions, ideas, let us know. And otherwise, have a wonderful weekend. And at least for where I am here, it was snowing this morning. So try to stay warm as we move into the fall here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.